Hi friends, this is Jennifer from DecorSauce, and today the project I'm going to be sharing with you is how to rehab a piece of thrifted furniture the correct way. So I was recently talking with a friend and he shared with me that he never paints anything because he just doesn't have very good luck with getting paint to stick. So I thought that was great inspiration to make a video for beginners on how to take a piece of thrifted furniture and repaint it to make it last for years to come. Now I know how exciting it is to buy a new piece of furniture, get it home, and want to just slap some paint on it really quick. I've done it before myself, but it always results in a project that doesn't stick, the paint doesn't stick, the paint starts to chip right away, and it just doesn't last over the long term. So I bought a piece of furniture this week off of Marketplace, and I thought it'd be fun to go through the process with you from start to finish on how to rehab a piece of furniture with paint to get it to last for years to come. So this is the piece of thrifted furniture that I bought off of Marketplace. It was $50. It's solid hardwood on the outside and particle board on the inside, the cubbies for the shoes. This is a bench that's going to go by my front door, and I'm going to be painting it black so it'll match the rest of my decor in that area of the house. Now the most important thing that you do when you bring home a new piece of furniture is your prep, or when you're rehabbing furniture at all. Your most important step is your prep. Do not skip your prep. If you do, you will end up with chipping furniture that the paint will just not last. It'll be chipping within probably 48 hours. So the first thing we need to do when we bring home a new piece of furniture is we're going to clean it really well. Furniture that lives in households are exposed to oil from skin and everything else. So you really need to clean it with a proper cleaner, and in this case I'm going to be using a TSP substitute. It looks like this, and I will post the link below in the description box if you want to see exactly what it is and how much it costs. And the directions are on the bottle, how to use this. You use 8 ounces of TSP substitute, and there are markers here right on the bottle that show you how much to pour, and then you mix that with a gallon of water. So I'm going to mix up my TSP substitute, and then I'm just going to wear gloves and wipe this piece of furniture down so that it'll be nice and clean and ready for my next prep step. So while my TSP cleaned cabinet is drying, it's time to talk about your next prep step, which is your primer step. Do not skip this step. You will be sorry if you did. But we are going to be using, for primer, we are going to be using Zinsser Cover Stain in this spray paint can. This is an extra large one. It's ridiculously large. But the most important thing to remember about spray paint, or any paint that comes in a can like this, is that you must shake it a lot. And the instructions on the back of the can says shake it for at least 60 seconds, which is a total and utter farce. You must shake this can within an inch of its life. You must shake it for 5 minutes and then give it to your child to shake it, and then possibly a neighbor, or do an exercise class with it, or put on your favorite show and sit there and watch for half an hour and shake it, or anything you can think of to get this can nice and shook up, because that's really important. If you don't shake up any paint like this in a can well, then it will sputter and you will get a fine grain-like or sandy-like finish in your painted piece, and then you'll just have to sand it out. So in order to get a nice smooth finish, coerce anyone you can into helping you shake this can. So I have done that and I'm ready to apply it. You can paint on primer, that's fine too. I just have the spray paint and I'm going to use it because it goes really fast when you're spraying versus painting on, and then you don't have to worry about any lines or anything like that in your finish. So or applying it too thick in places. So I'm going to be applying this with a spray paint nozzle, and the spray paint nozzle looks like this, and I would suggest that you purchase one. I'll put the link below because it really changes your life. I mean, it was the most life-changing thing that I ever bought when I was doing projects, was one of these spray guns, and like I said, I'll put the link below, but it just helps to streamline the process, and it preserves your finger that you would use for the spray paint. So I am going to apply this primer coat, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all ready for its actual paint. So my primer coat is dry, and I just wanted to show you what it looks like so that you know you don't have to get it totally covered with primer. So kind of just looks like that. And now what I have to do is I have to take a little sanding sponge like this one, and I'm just going to go over the finish and make sure there's no bumps. I know that even though I told you to shake the crap out of your can, and I did mine, it still sputtered a little bit. So I want to hit the areas with a fine grit sanding sponge just to get that sanded down to a smooth finish before I apply my top coat of paint. I also wanted to tell you that this project behind me took that entire large can of spray paint, so or primer. So be careful or be aware of that when you go to the hardware store to buy your own primer, that a piece about this size would approximately take 2 cans or 1 large can of primer. So I just wanted to say that to you so you knew how much to buy. So now that my project is sanded and I've removed all the dust from the sanding, it's time to apply my top coat. And at this point, since you've used primer, you can go ahead and use latex-based paint, and you can roll it on if you'd like, if that's easiest for you. Or you can use spray paint, which is what I'm going to be using for my project. And the reason I like spray paint versus latex is because this is oil-based, guys, and it's really rugged and lasts really well on furniture. I've had better luck with spray paint than I've ever had with rolling latex paint on. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't do it now that it's primed. I have done pieces before where I've used latex over the top of a primed piece, and it does last much better than with no primer at all. You must do the primer coat. So it's just a matter of taste at this point. I'm going to use spray paint. I think it's easier, it's faster, and I know it provides a rugged coating that will last for a really long time. So now that it's ready, I'm going to go ahead and give it a coat of this. So while I'm at it, I just wanted to give you one more tip. So since my piece has a top that is flat like this, I'm going to tilt my piece down and do the top first. And then that way I don't hover over my work while I'm spray painting and get any drips on my flat surface. So I'm just going to tip it down. And then I'm going to start by painting the top. I just want to say one more tip. When you're doing spray paint or when you're using spray paint for projects, make sure that you do lighter, thinner coats. That way you don't get any drips. It's much easier to touch up a light coat of spray paint than it is to remove a thick drip. So my project is finished and I brought it inside, and I'm very excited to show it to you in a moment, but I wanted to talk about 3 last things before I end this video, and that is number 1, a top coat. So there's a couple of options that you can use for a top coat. I really like wipe-on poly for something that's in a darker shade. It just wipes on, it's very easy to do, and then it gives you just an extra top layer of protection. There's also some spray paint options for like a clear coat, top coat. You just want to be careful if you paint something white that you do not use a poly finish on top, because poly will tend to yellow over time. So if it's black or something or a different color like what I've done, then I wouldn't so much worry about the yellowing. But if you do a white, you're going to want to stick to probably General Finishes water-based top coat. It's the only top coat I've ever used that does not yellow over time. I actually used it on my kitchen cabinets, which are an antique white, and it still looks great 4 or 5 years later. So I will put that product below if you do want to do a top coat. I decided not to do a top coat on my piece only because it was sitting in the garage and it was starting to accumulate dust again, and I just didn't want to start my whole cleaning process over again to add the top coat, so I just decided to forego it. But I'm really confident in my paint because I did use the primer and I did use spray paint. I really don't think with the top coat it's going to make any difference. I really don't think the paint's going to go anywhere. You can change the finish if you use a flat spray paint. You can use a glossier top coat. So if you were to want to change the way the look of your finish is, then you could also use a top coat for that. So that's just another little tip there at the end. And then the last thing is dry time versus cure time. And there's a big difference between the two, friends. So dry time sounds pretty obvious, right? It's the amount of time that your furniture will dry to the touch. And that could be anywhere from 24 hours after you last paint it all the way up to 7 days until you last paint it. So it's largely dependent upon the temperature outside, the level of humidity, and that kind of stuff. So paint tends to like warm, dry air. So if you're painting a piece of furniture in your basement in Michigan in the middle of January, it's going to have a much different cure time or dry time than it will if you're painting it in Florida in the air conditioning inside your house. It's just a matter of fact. So that's why the span is so long between dry time and cure time. But dry time is to the touch, and that's when you can haul a piece of furniture inside your house and not get paint all over the place. Cure time is the amount of time that you allow your paint to dry to a full, resistant level. So cure time means the paint is fully dry, there's no layers underneath it, are still wet, it's not going to dent, it's not going to scratch, it's not going to do any of those things when it's fully cured. And that doesn't matter whether you use spray paint or latex, both of them need to cure fully. So cure time takes about 7 all the way up to 30 days to be fully complete. And again, that's dependent upon your climate. So it's been 7 days for me. I'm confident that my piece of furniture is going to hold up at this point going forward. But it is something that you want to note if you are concerned about the usage of your painted piece and when you should use it and all that good stuff. So the rule of thumb is 7 to 30 days. Sorry about the big span. So now I'm ready to show you what the bench looks like. I just have to add a couple of finishing touches. The bench did not come with a cushion, and it's behind me, as you can see here. And it does have 12 cubbies, which is awesome because it really corrals all of the shoes and everything that my family loves to leave in front of the front door. And I've been looking for years for a solution to this problem that looks nice. And because my bar is right across from my shoe cubby, I painted it black, and so it just ties the two rooms together and looks really awesome. So there's what it looks like without the cushion, and now it's just time for the finishing touches. That concludes my video on how to have a painted piece of furniture that lasts you for the long haul and all the techniques that I use to make sure that that happens. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my content, I tend to release new stuff on Friday, so make sure you check back on Friday. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new content. And any of the products that I used or mentioned in the video, I will post in the links below in the description box. And I have lots of other videos for you guys to check out too, and that's in the same spot. And I really appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for watching, and have a happy DIY.